Hey, everybody. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. So, what are we going to do today? We're going to do some witchcraft. So what is the thing you need to do for yourself today? What is it that you want to do that's going to help elevate you to that next level of your success when it comes to your witchcraft? Well, the Spell of the Day Challenge is just about to get started in the week 13. Happy week 13, yay witches, right? Day number 1. All right, so our ingredients today is going to be rose, it's going to be mistletoe, and it's going to be periwinkle. None of this shit should be used by people that are pregnant, right? People that have allergies, sensitivities to these kinds of things. Don't use it. Don't use it. Why? Because you might poison yourself, and that would not be good, okay? So that outside the point, like if you have to use these kinds of ingredients, what are some safety tips that you can use, right? This is one of those do as I say, not as I do, because I'm not going to be poisoning myself today. At least I don't intend to. So this is where you would get out your safety equipment, like your breathing mask, so that you don't inhale things like mistletoe powder or periwinkle. Those can be an abortifacient. Those can be very, very bad depending on your blood chemistry, because, you know, mistletoe is at some level toxic, right? So you want to be very careful if you're using it in incense or conjure powder, right? And this is one of those things where it's basically with mistletoe, it's an all-purpose herb. Rose kind of also falls into that category of being all-purpose. And so we're going to consult the encyclopedia from Cunningham. And through this, we're going to take a look at all of our ingredients today. That way you've got an application of these things that you can think about, right? Periwinkle. It is also poisonous, right? Its feminine gender is Venus. So this would be a really good lust blend. This would be a good love spell creation. Make a conjure powder with a little bit of this stuff. I mean, tomorrow is Valentine's Day. So you kind of have to think about it like, okay, we need to get our like sexy on. How are we going to do that? Well, with periwinkle, it's a powerful magical herb. It's noted in the folk name as the sorcerer's violet. Periwinkle should be gathered according to strict procedures before it is of any efficiency, or so it is said. It is to be gathered when one is clean of every uncleanliness, and when the moon is old, 9 nights old, or 1 night old, 9 nights old, 11 nights old, or 13 nights old, and following the incantation which should be uttered when plucking the plant. I pray thee, Vinca Provincia, that thou art to be had for thy magical useful qualities, and that thou shalt come to me glad blossoming with thy manfulness, that thou outfit me, that I be shielded and prosperous and undamaged by poisons and water, right? So that's a spell of plucking, right? Thank you, Cunningham, for doing the research on these things. Now, after the plant is carried, to obtain grace, to attract money, to protect against snakes, poisons, wild beasts, terror, the evil eye, and spirits. It's also placed over the door to protect the home. Periwinkle is utilized in love spells and thought to increase one's passion when carried or sprinkled under the bed. When gazed upon, it restores lost memories, right? And so you're thinking about these things as the narrative begins. It's like, all right, what are we going to do with our periwinkle? What are we going to do in our witchcraft, right? And then we're going to go into the rose, which is effeminate, right? It's Venus as well, and it's also water. Roses have long been used in love mixtures, owing to the flower's association with emotions. A chaplet of roses worn when performing love spells, removing the thorns, or a single rose in a vase on an altar are powerful love magic aids. Rose water is distilled from the petals and it is added to love baths. Rose hips is the fruit of the rose, right? You can make a tea out of that. You can make wine out of that, and are strung and worn as love-attracting beads. Do it when they're kind of fresh so they can dry on the thing you're stringing, because otherwise they're hard as a rock and you won't get through them. A tea of rosebuds may be drunk before sleep and induces prophetic dreams. To discover their romantic future, women used to take their 3 green rose leaves and name each for one of their lovers. The one that stayed green the longest answered the question of which one. Rose petals and hips are also used in healing spells and mixtures, and rose water saturated cloth laid to the temples will help relieve headache pain. Interesting stuff. So if you've got a headache, that might be something to try. Not saying it's going to do the job. Might be worth a try though, depending on what it is you're doing. You know, you'll have to select the roses and stuff accordingly and make sure that you've got everything, you know, as efficiently as possible with those. Roses are added to fast luck mixtures when carried and act as a personal protectant. Rose petals sprinkled around the house calm personal stress and household upheavals. Roses planted in the garden attract fairies and are said to grow best when stolen. Don't steal your neighbor's rose petals or your neighbor's roses. That's just rude, right? So we know mistletoe. We know that it's one of the most sacred plants ever when it comes to solar magic, when it comes to the masculine principles, when it comes to fire. So we have 2 waters and a fire in this, right? And let's just double check to see what other fun stuff that Cunningham says about our friend, the mistletoe, right? Its element is the sun. It's the element of air. So we have rose and periwinkle is a Venus blend. Mistletoe is the sun. And so mistletoe is well known by the Druids and revered the mistletoe, especially when found growing in an oak. It was cut, and still is, on Midsummer's Day, or else when the moon is 6 days old. And 1 stroke of a golden sickle was used to cut the herb, and it wasn't allowed to touch the ground, right? Because you're dealing with an herb of heaven, right? And you do this thing, and you cut these things, and it's supposed to be a sacred ingredient, right? Now, if you end up having to buy your ingredients from a wholesale supplier, or you're buying your ingredients from a local witch shop, right? Those are great. Those are fantastic. And they farm the raw ingredients of many of my spells to do that. It also stimulates the local economy. So that way, what I do has a through line to help the locals, right? And so that's part of the process of the spell of the day is with these ingredients, I recommend you source them local, right? Don't damage the environment. Don't hurt a tree if you're trying to climb up it to get the mistletoe out, right? Don't steal your neighbor roses. And don't be stupid. Like, don't go like here in San Diego, right? There's a rose garden. It is a massive fine if you get caught clipping rose petals, right? Or taking clippings from those plants because they're specifically curated, right? Like, they're really, really, really strict. So just don't be stupid. Don't get caught doing stuff like stealing people's flowers or gardens and things like that. Like, there are better ways, like sourcing out the raw vines and stuff on the internet, right? You can do that. And then you can import into the area fancy roses that you can then take to flower shows and things like that and sell and become a farmer of those ingredients. Now, we have to think about, we're mixing elements of the sun with the elements of Venus, right? And 2 of them are going to make dense the air and the water, right? So they're both water ingredients, right? So we have to consider, all right, these are going to flow, whereas air is going to move. So we're going to have 2 things that need to come up out of the earth and flow. So we need to apply heat to the water in order to make steam. What are we going to do first? Do we add the water and then the steam, or do we add the heat and make steam right away? Well, I'm going to say let's use the mistletoe to add that solar heat, to add that light of inspiration. So that way, when we get to conjuring this stuff, we're going to do mistletoe first. That's going to be the base, right? The periwinkle, it's used as an attractant powder, right? So it's basically the witch's violet or the sorcerer's violet. So you've got, feminine, but magic. Rose, love, magic. Will, it is the plant that helps you rise to the occasion, so to speak, right? So Roses help you focus on a higher ideal. So this is going to be what gets the periwinkle off the ground and into the stars, right? Up into the light. So this will be our last ingredient, and periwinkle will be our second ingredient. All right. So we're thinking about this stuff, and it's like, all right, periwinkle next. And then our roses. Now, because 2 of these ingredients are toxic, you should not burn them. So you'll ask, Brian, what is the use of these ingredients if I cannot burn them? Well, I would say to you, let's make a spray. Can we do that? Absolutely, we can do that. Well, what would I do? I would have rainwater, moon water, right? And do this. And this is a spell blend that'll help reunite your love aspect, right? This is going to be one of those things which elevates things up out of the earth into the heavens, right? God, it smells amazing. Like, this smells really, really good. And so when you've got your feet on the ground and you've got your energy flowing upwards through your body into your spells blend, right? This would be a really good sachet. Like, I wouldn't wear it because you don't want the periwinkle and the mistletoe to poison you if you sweat too much on it, right? So then how do we get these ingredients into the air to do the thing that we need them to do, right? Well, that's the question. That, my friends, is the question. And this is one of those ingredients where we could do a distillation. For the ride in the afternoon, like we could do a distillation of it. But again, it's poisonous ingredients, and you could very well wind up screwing up yourself, or if you've got cats and things like that, be extremely cautious with this, right? What I would do with this is I would add it to an attraction talisman, right? I would put a little bit of it on a piece of cloth, put that in the cloth. Actually, I wonder if I have, I don't have it today, but there's also these things called spell bottles, right? And those, everybody loves to use the sour jar or the honey jar or those kind of slow burn bits of magic. I'm not a fan of the sour jars. I'm not a fan of the love jars because they're slow burn, right? They're just slow. They're delicate, they're dainty, and it gives you something to shake every so often. Let's shake it up, right? And while you're doing these kinds of things to people or for yourself or for even in your environment, right? The application that you can use one of these ingredient blends for goes out, like the application becomes limitless if you understand that now we have an attractant blend. This is a spirit attractant. This is like, let's get this stuff done out and draw the spirits to us, right? And then it becomes a matter of like, what are we going to draw them to us for? Love, prosperity, human concerns. Spirits don't care about human concerns. They're not human. Why should they care? And so we're thinking about these things. We're thinking about the arrangement of these things. And we can go a little bit more in depth about it. And you could add this to a jar, add a little bit of quartz. You could add a little bit of rose quartz to it. You could add some of the ormus oil that I made a little while ago, right? That's got the rose quartz, it's got thyme, and it's got frankincense, I believe it was, that was in there. But that stuff is like, you put that with a little of this, and then you've got like yourself a little battery. Put a Herkimer quartz in there, so that way it's a projector, and then it radiates outwards. So when you put energy in, it radiates out into your field, and then you have a really great anchor for Venus, right? If you need to bring Venus into your magic, you could also use to ink, right? Like, make a tincture out of this and add a few drops of that tincture into ink, and it would be a fantastic thing to do love talismans with. And in fact, that's probably what my best use of this would be to recommend that you use this sort of thing. You mix it with a red, like you could do a dove's blood ink from like Anna Riva. Don't worry, folks. It's not actual dove's blood unless it is. I'm not saying you do a dove for your love spell, but You know, you should be able to figure out different applications of this thing, right? Different ways that you can come into your sorcery when it comes to the application of this is for a love working. This is for drawing that love to you. This is for drawing the thing of your desire to you, right? And it doesn't even have to be a person. It doesn't even have to be a thing itself, right? It just has to be a situation that you love to be in, or that you want to be in, or that you desire to do, right? And so that's why this becomes a multi-purpose operation, because this is now a blend of your desire, right? And it doesn't matter what end it goes to. The fact that it becomes a thing and a medium through which you can channel your desire, this is a great magic ink, or this would make a great magic ink, right? And so that way you can make your talismans, you can make your phylacteries, you can make your amulets with it, you could do totems with it, right? So something this simple, and then you incorporate the spirit of the plant, you incorporate the spirit of the bush, the mistletoe, right? And then you have to think about, all right, well, how is my spell going to connect? Is it going to get deep rooted into the world like a periwinkle root, or is it going to be a symbiotic parasite in the same kind of way that the mistletoe is, right? And if you've got mistletoe gray, you don't touch the tree, you just take the mistletoe, right? Leave the tree alone, allowing the mistletoe to exist within it. So you have to figure out how, in your case, will your spell be like the mistletoe? What will it leave alone? What will be the focus? And then you go from there. And so with that, my friends, I'm going to leave you with this week 13, day 1 of our Spell a Day challenge. I hope you have a fantastic Sunday and happy witchcraft. All right? And remember, don't poison yourself, mind your allergies. And really, when you're thinking about this kind of magic, don't be evil. And if you were to carve the name of somebody and write their name in a pink candle, roll the candle in this ingredient blend and light it outside, because you don't want to smell these ingredients. Don't burn your house down, and don't start any forest fires. Okay? Mind your allergies. Be safe. Have fun. Happy conjuring. Go get your witchcraft on, guys. All right. Bye for now, y'all.